So let's go ahead and start with this first shape that we have right here, this sort of basic, super simple shape with this uniform depth. And I want to make sure I'm not going off the page. And so let's start with, I want to give myself plenty of room, so I might skip, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 squares from the top of the page. And I want to make sure if there's holes on my page, I want to stay to the right of that. If there's not, you want to go slightly to the side of that. And so maybe about right here. And it's not perfect, but I'm going to say that this corner is this corner. And I'm going to start by sketching what we call the front view. And it's very important you draw in pen. So I'm going to go ahead and draw in pen because I find the lines show up better in pen and I know what I'm doing. But make sure you do this in pencil so you can sketch and erase as needed. But with that said, I'm going to go ahead and sketch this thing. And if we look, we can see that the front view is 1, 2, 3, 4 squares tall. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. And from there, well, let's start back from the top. From here, it goes to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so we'll go to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so it's pretty simple, pretty easy. We're just sketching the view that we see. And so from this front view, let's see, from that corner, it goes down 2. So we'll go down 2. And then we'll go to the right 4 more. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I know it's 4 because I've counted it beforehand, but you count it yourself. You see that it's 4 squares further to the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it goes down 2 more. And if we did it right, these two should be separated by 8 squares because math. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so, yes, we did that right. And that is the front face.
And just in case you're a little confused on why we only sketched this from the front face, the front tends to be the bottom left side of our isometric shape. So this is the bottom left, and this would be our bottom right, and this would be, of course, our top. So what we see from the bottom left is just this face, which is why it's all we're sketching, making it our front view.
And now from here, what I want to do is I want to take all of my heights and all of my widths and extend them out with construction lines. Now, I'm going to draw my construction lines with my green pen on this. But again, construction lines should be incredibly light lines as compared to your object lines, which is why I use green. But again, I find that over this video projector that pencil does not show up very well. And so to demonstrate construction lines, I will use green pen, green ink. Okay. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take each line, each vertical line, which represents a width from left to right, and sketch it upward. And so we'll go up, and then let's see here, we'll sketch this one up as well. And you might say to yourself, well, we don't really need to do that. We could just count how wide it is from the top. And that's true in these super simple shapes. But as the shapes get more complicated, that becomes less and less true. And so you do need to make sure you add your construction lines. And the squares are just there to help you if, you want to double check your math or double check your work. But we extend these construction lines up this way. There's only 3, and then there's only 3 this direction as well. We'll do the bottom construction lines, so that will represent the bottom. This will represent the middle height, this construction line extending outward, and then this will represent the top height, again, extending outward. And I'm going to skip 1 or 2 squares up, and so I'll say, okay, this is the beginning of the top view. That will represent this dot right here, and what happens? Well, it goes back a depth of 3, and so from this point, it goes backwards 3, so I'll go backwards 1, 2, 3, and I'll just darken my construction line. The construction line is still there, but I'm darkening that part 3 squares deep into my object lines, the lines that represent the object. And then I know it goes to the right 4, but I don't really have to count. I can just connect it straight to the construction line, which is kind of the point. And then we go back 3 again, and again, there's no counting required when you draw your construction lines. I already know, because math, that this will be separated by 4. And then what about this face right here? Well, from this view, from the top, these two faces will look like they're right next to each other. This face doesn't exist from the top. You can't see it. It just looks like a line or an edge to us. And lucky us, we already sketched that edge. How nice.
And so real quick, looking at our 3D model, what we're talking about when we say these two edges look like one and the same to us from our top view. If we look at our top view, we can see that these two edges just look like one line to us, and the top view just looks like these 2 rectangles right next to each other. So these 2 edges look one and the same, and these 2 faces are all we can see right next to each other with a line going down the middle of our top view.
And so this edge and this edge from the top look like one edge and the same. And so from there, it goes to the right another 4, and it goes forward or backwards, depending on where you're starting from, another 3. And so basically, I just sketch this all the way to the end, sketch this one all the way to the end, which is just 4 because math, or to the end of the construction line, making the widths match. And then we sketch this last edge right here from the top that we can see. And so again, you might be thinking to yourself, well, construction lines don't seem like they're that helpful. I could have just counted the squares above it again. But again, as we get further into this, those construction lines will become very helpful, as you see. So it is very important that you do it. And if you don't include construction lines, the shape will not count, and you'll have to go back and either do it again or fix it. Now, from the right side view, so that's these two faces right here. They're the only two faces I can see.
And so looking at our 3D model, to be clear, when I say these two faces are the only two faces I can see from the right view, this is what I mean. These are the rightward faces pointing towards the right side.
And they're both 2 by 3 squares. And so let's go ahead and start. I'll start with this corner right here, and I'll put that corner right there, the bottom left. And so it goes back 3. So 1, 2, 3 down the construction line, but it also goes up 2. And so I just, well, the height hasn't changed. This height is the same as this height. So I just, again, follow my construction lines, and then I'll go ahead and finish off this edge. And like before in the top view, this edge and this edge from the side view will look like one edge and the same to us. We can't see this top face from the right side. Just like if you're looking at me from the side, you can't see the top of my head unless you're looking at a downward angle or something. You can't see the top from the side, and this is a top face. And so these two edges look like one edge and the same, and I know I've got another 2 by 3 rectangle, so I'll go up 2 to that construction line. The height hasn't changed from the bottom to the top, is the same whether you look at it from the side or the front view, which makes sense because height doesn't change because you turned something sideways. But that is how you draw a multi-view of this first shape.